I always feel like I have to say this whenever we go to Conservative Home, but it's why we cover Conservative Home. And I always have to remind you, Conservative Home has a big outreach to like the Conservative Party membership. That's primarily its whole reason for being. And because it has this, you have MPs, you have pressure groups, conservative councillors writing to it, doing pieces specifically targeting Conservative Party membership. So you see things discussed, you see things in this blog said that you don't tend to see anywhere else. And one of the big things that they do cover very, very often is who's popular, who's not. And it may seem very often like this simple question of are you popular or are you not seems to be very, very high schoolish, but importantly, really, for the past, really since Brexit, the popularity of a Conservative minister, or even in this case, Conservative Prime Minister, is a very telling statistic of how long they might last. Or in particular, will they get shuffled out of the cabinet in favour for someone else on this list who's more popular? And remember, it was this list and these types of polling which predicted that, you had Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss at the top of these polls predicting who would be the next Conservative Prime Minister, or at least who would do really well in the, in the sort of the final round where it went to the membership. And it predicted that long before anyone else. And as I said before, when I was doing my, good morning walks and I was saying this and I was sort of doing videos and this, people were like, no, they'll never be it. Liz Truss will never win. She'll never be Prime Minister. So do not underestimate these polling numbers that we get from Conservative Home. They are quite influential, and sometimes it can be a very easy indicator as to, shall we say, who's on their way out in particular. So let's have a look at these ratings, and in particular, the big important one is that for the first time, Rishi Sunak has slipped into the negative ratings. And as I've said, even Boris Johnson, when Boris Johnson slipped into negative ratings, this was sort of his beginning of the end. So if history continues, as it has done in the past, whenever these Conservative prime ministers and the leaders of the Conservative Party have been into their negative ratings in these polls, it has tended, shall we say, not to, shall we say, or at least, shall we say, predict, shall we say, the end of their tenure in this. And unless Sunak can really turn this around, which a lot of people said he can't, he's got a lot of challenges. His big 5 pledges aren't really succeeding. Is this really the beginning of the end? And as we already asked the question just last week, at what point did Rishi Sunak lose the lose the next general election? I've already said it was the mini budget, the day that Liz Truss and Kurzu Kutang, or at least Kurzu Kutang, stood up and delivered his mini budget. That was when Rishi Sunak lost the next election. Because to be honest, a lot of his problems are really stemming from that mini budget still. But let's have a look at these poll numbers, because as usual, a bit of a surprise who is at the top, but we'll see. So, as always, please do remember to click on the like and share button. Like I say, that always helps out the channel. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the foundation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There is the there is the Pony Club, and of course, there is the YouTube thank you button as well. So, let's go diving into this to see who's popular and, of course, who's not. So, to no one's surprise, Shockingly, still, Ben Wallace still retaining that top spot in these popularity ratings. And I think it's really shocking that he has managed to maintain that lead. James Cleverly sneaking up into second place compared to last time. Once again, definitely two people. Still doesn't look like he's going to be catching up to Ben Wallace anytime soon. But we'll see. And of course, in third place, you've got Kimmy Badnock. After her somewhat disastrous performance, she's still managing to cling on there, but of course, still very popular with the base. But as you may notice in the polls, she is 43.9, while the person creeping up behind her and increasing in popularity, certainly from last time, although be it very slowly, is of course Penny Mordaunt with 43.3. So she is not too far behind Badnock on this. And with Kimmy Badnock being, shall we say, certainly falling out of favor with the right wing of her party, obviously because she refused to be an arsonist of the Brexit regulations, it did take a hit to her popularity. But she seems to be somewhat holding in there. Now, of course, we've just done the video just yesterday about the car deals, the electric car manufacturers needing the change to the rules of origin. But the only way the EU is really going to shift on that is if the UK gives up something in return. And it's, what does she give up in return? Anything that she might give up, and the Brexiteers are going to be on it. They're going to be crying betrayal, and they are going to be at her. And the question is, what happens then? I mean, they've already said she's pretty much lost any future leadership election because the right wing aren't going to support her. But then you have Steve Barclay, John Mercer, Alistair Jack, and then you have Suella Braverman, who is at, let me just see where she's at. Let me just get a closer. Yep, she's on 30, literally just 30%, 30.4. And to be honest, this is sort of a good position for her to be in. It shows that, in a way, she's still popular within the party, but she's not that popular. But again, her popularity is still somewhat worrying. But sort of the good thing is that most of the, shall we say, her like-minded, crazy, fanatical people aren't there in this popularity poll rating, which definitely does signal a shift away from all those people, because Jacob Rees-Mogg's not even on this list. You know, Liz Truss is not on this list. They're nowhere to be found. But of course, we now jump down to who's the unpopular. So the first on this top of the unpopular list is at 0.4 is Oliver Dowden. And then it's Rishi Sunak at 2.7. That is really not a good list for her to be for him to be in, because when conservative leaders, as you said in the past, when you've looked at these polls, when they have reached that level, if Rishi Sunak cannot turn that popularity around, well, now this starts conservatives thinking, because if they go, we're going to have a general election next autumn. Let's say that. Let's say they know we can't have one beyond that. We know we've got to have one next autumn, so we know we've got to have one then. But Rishi Sunak, shall we say, protection ends in September. So Sunak's last chance to really wow the party is at the upcoming Conservative conference. If Rishi Sunak cannot turn it around with the membership and convince the membership that he is the guy to lead them into the next general election, or that he can at least, shall we say, shall we say, we'll lose the next general election, but lose, at least in a place where the Conservatives remain a somewhat viable opposition, you know, I think he'll be gone. I think there might be a lot of calculations being made. Do we have another leadership change? And I know that might sound an incredible thing to say, but if the Conservatives, as we've seen, feel really desperate enough to do it, they will. I think they will reach for the desperation, and it's who ends up being leader. It could be an insane contest, but remember, we have been in this position before where we thought, oh, there won't be a leadership challenge. Oh, there won't be a leadership contest. The success has already been chosen. No, not the case. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But if it does all go down, it's all going to go down this autumn. And it will depend entirely on how Conservative MPs and how the Conservative Party feels about Sunak after he's delivered his big speech to the Conservative Party conference this coming autumn. And then, well, either two things are going to happen. Either the wolves are going to be at the door, or he's managing to going to keep them at least at bay for now. So we'll have to see what happens. But the fact that Rishi Sunak is his own popularity is plummeting. And remember, most of these other, Conservative prime ministers, when their polls started to happen like that, we'll see next month if he sort of maintains that popularity or whether it will plummet like a stone. We'll see. But if it starts to get really bad, panic mode will set in, and who knows what the Conservatives will do. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.